Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Dale with Realvolve, and I have a very special guest with me today, Terry Yonker from Winter Park, Florida, Orlando area.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining me, Terry. I understand that you are a real estate agent, and you have one virtual assistant that you help that helps you with your business. And
Right.
what I'm really excited to dig into with you today is you have built some really powerful workflow automations, processes that are very well documented, very well thought out, and can really help everybody listening today take their business to the next level without hiring any employees, which is extremely exciting and appealing to a lot of people. So, Terry, let's just get started with a brief introduction. Tell us a little bit about you and your history in the real estate industry.
Sure. I started back in 2005, I think right at the very peak when it was easy and they sold. That's how they sold it. So basically, for my whole career, we were selling in the down market, of course, until this last run up. Started in Southwest Florida, Punta Gorda, always a single agent, and now up here in a little bigger market north of Orlando. And went through, like most single agents, tried to do everything myself, then hired in place assistants, and then tried to train them and what we were doing. And every time they quit or even move on, we'd start over. So that's how these workflows that you guys have developed, why that's so exciting for us. Because anybody that's gone through that process where someone leaves and you kind of got to pick up the pieces again, if you don't have the pieces, it makes it very difficult to replicate what you've been doing. So that's how we've come to this point, and we feel like we've automated a lot of it. And I don't like to be an employer, so the tools and the workflows really help us continue to do fairly good business without having a big staff or team.
Yeah, I love it. So, tell me a little bit about some of the challenges with the assistants that you had. So there's tons of agents that do really well with hiring full-time assistants, and some people just don't like to. Tell me a little bit more about that, your experience with assistants.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you hit a certain ceiling of achievement, we'll call it, where you can handle everything and then you've got to let go. So my assistants weren't even, I mean, I liked them as people, and they would come in and, I hired incorrectly. I had one that was more of a salesperson and not a, by the book person. And then even when I did have my third and final one was fantastic, a trained attorney. She's on Jeopardy, a two-time champion, if you can
Wow.
believe that. My assistant, she was perfect. And then her husband got a promotion and left. And so even it's like when you have decent ones, you lose. If you have not so decent ones, you lose. So she left, and that's when we really turned to virtual assistants, and we wanted to have it as documented as well as possible. And that's how the workflows with the documentation came into place. Because even when we had workflows, I thought we were in good shape. But then you hand it to somebody who just comes in, and it's like Greek, so we put the manual beside it. But yeah, that's how we feel. I think a lot of agents that I run into, and us typically, we're fiercely independent by nature. There's a reason that we don't work in a company and hire. Typically, again, I'm making huge generalizations here, but we aren't really managers, and so I tried to find a way where I could extrapolate that with this model, single agent with some virtual assistants, as far as you can go. And so far, it's been working out pretty well.
Yeah, I always like to talk about how a lot of agents treat their CRM or their calendar as if it's a tyrant because they hate that. So we
Yeah.
want to be independent. We want to fly by the seat of our pants because it's fun, it's exciting. I just want to talk to people, and it's difficult sometimes to connect the dots between the discipline and the reward at the end of the month, at the end of the quarter, at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And so what I like about what you're doing is once you have all of this dialed in like this, and we're going to dig into some of the stuff that you're doing here in a minute, but once you have it all dialed in and documented, now you can just replicate that. Somebody else could just take your documentation, your workflows, and run your same process, bring on a virtual assistant, bring on a full-time assistant, bring on another agent to work with them, and just hit the ground running. Don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we couldn't agree more. And a lot of times when we're our own boss, we're our own worst enemy sometimes. And sometimes I just crave to know, what am I supposed to do when I sit down? I know I'm supposed to call. Okay, but FISBO's expired, Sphere, have I called Bob? My past, just But now when you have workflows, at least I know if I'm what I'm supposed to do. And then if I don't do it, shame on me. Like I go into the past due ones. But at least if we can take out that, because so many of us, it's just, we're our own boss. What's the best thing to do that's going to get me to my goal right now? And once you have it laid out, and again, we have beliefs like a book of business system or a sphere. Like if you have 200 to 300 people that like, trust, respect you, and agree to refer you, and you nurture that, and boy, I know what to do every day, and then just feed that with expired FISBOs or whatever, else your sources are. But I know when I sit down and my workflow says it's time to call this person, it's before, then I do it, and I know what to say. And with the notes that you keep, the history, the running history, that's priceless. That's the value of your business, we feel like. So then when you go to sell or you want to hand it off or whatever you're going to do, it's, here's a history with Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. They've referred 5 people. Here's our contact. So that's great.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what you were using for transaction management before Realvolve. And by the way, you're still not 100% set up on Realvolve. You're in progress still. Is that correct?
Yeah. We've tried a lot. We came from Wise Agent.
Okay.
And everything documented on that backbone. But we've tried other ones like Contextually. I'm a shiny object guy. And once we started helping other agents, I almost, even when it was outside of my business, I made it a point to at least know what I was talking about, to try them, so that when I speak to it, you can speak intelligently. So, before we were using Wise Agent, and then in Florida, we have Form Simplicity, which is our document management program, and then DocuSign, all this hodgepodge of things. And so now with Realvolve, we kind of wrap it all in to individual workflows. And yeah, like I said, we're transitioning in. So with Wise Agent and into Realvolve, again, we have everything documented. So it's just making those tweaks. And we get excited for helping other agents too, because even, there's 1,000 other, compared to crowded space. So, if we start with the 2 that we feel are the best, and as we migrate in, this is the next step. Wise Agent is almost elementary, and it's great and it's good. But at Realvolve, once you have these refined workflows, and we'll talk about some of the advantages, a little bit later in this talk. But boy, when you can plug it all in, it's one contained package. Like this is the Realvolve workflow, and then it can repeat daily, weekly, however it needs to go, and the thing just keeps spinning. That's exciting too, So yeah, we're real excited to continue with you guys.
Yeah, and we, here at Realvolve, we have a ton of respect for Wise Agent. I think especially Wise Agent, out of all of our competitors, I absolutely love the people over there. They're great folks. I think they have a fantastic tool. But like you said, there's just some differences in what we do versus what they do. They have not even tried to go as deep as we go on the automation side. So it's sometimes can be very good for an agent just barely starting out. I happen to think that even if you're starting out, you should be on Realvolve and start to automate as much as you can, as early as you can. But there's a lot of people that like that very early on. So let's talk a little bit about, I just wanted to clarify that because I don't want any bashing going on. Like I said, I absolutely love Brandon Wise and everything that they're doing over there. I respect them a lot. So tell me a little bit about let's start talking about workflows. So tell me a little bit about some of the workflows that you have in your business that you utilize.
Sure. Well, the first basic one, we have I say basic, but boy, it's built out with a lot of steps. It's an administrative workflow because as a broker agent, there are things that you just got to remember, and some things repeat monthly that you've got to do, some things repeat annually. So the first thing we did is we said, okay, let's get this base. And that was one of the slight differences with you guys and Wise Agent, was that we had to keep resetting every month, like run. But some only went weekly, so I had to take them out and put them into a weekly one that we started weekly. With you guys, we can have one, I call it an administrative workflow, for paying our taxes to the city, to the county, renewing our licenses, getting our CE credits, renewing all these things that cut into your time to making money and building relationships. We now have it in one workflow, and it repeats when it's supposed to, and on the date that it's supposed to. So of course you renew your MLS dues, and then the state licenses, different things. So once you start putting one thing, our E&O insurance, it's a list, but now I can focus on business, because when it comes up, we click and do what it tells us to do when it tells us to do it. So, and that's what I'm excited to share too, especially with Florida agents, because we all are on that calendar, and we all say, oh, I didn't get my CE credit. Oh man, it's due now. And, there's a big push to get your core law all those things, when you have an administrative workflow, it really helps. And I think, my mentor, Floyd Wickman, that he said, you teach what you needed the most. And I think I was one of those guys, pants on fire or hair on fire. I don't have any hair, but pants on
It
fire.
all burned off just like mine.
Time to get your CE credits, and now it's just Bing. It comes in and does it. And our VA handles a lot of that. So boy, it's just peace of mind where I can focus on relationship. And as far as lead generation and business building, boy, this Sphere workflow is really powerful in the simplicity. When we touch on each aspect of how you're going to contact your past customers, and that's where a lot of us get caught in. We want to chase those Zillow leads and the cold leads that we know they converted about 2%. Like the study after study comes out and says those cold leads are 2%, when we have people that like, trust, and respect us that maybe we haven't even talked to in a year. And so we really have built with on your platform a robust Sphere marketing system where the call is scheduled when it's supposed to happen, based on a mix of like a Gary Keller 33 touch, a Floyd Wickman, a Sphere book of business model, and it's with the dialogue in there. So what to say, when to say, and again, everyone's different, so of course you tweak it, but based on the customer or you. But at least you're supposed to do it, and then it integrates to send out mailings with just one touch, and internet ads if you so choose. So we hit on all those modes that are all pre-set up, and then you just have to upload your newest people, and the thing runs. So we like to focus on getting it done. You get intimidated, or I do anyway, when I go to these conferences and all the newest gadgets. I think, boy, they're just so complex. And I just wonder if all the agents did the fundamentals, which is just a call, mail, internet ad, relationship build, all that stuff becomes less important. And that's what the Realvolve gives you, the structure, because we're scattered. Like if you come in with structure and those basic things are done, then go nuts with ads or whatever.
Yeah, try new things out, experiment, but at least cover the bases first, right?
Cover your basics. That's how we were taught, and maybe it's old school, but you make it through 14 years from your mentors. You learn something from your mentors. You got to shut up sometimes and listen. And I remember coming into this business thinking, boy, these old timers, I'm gonna do this and internet and la 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 la. But there's something to it, just fundamental relationships. At the end of the day, I would see people listing with their people they had a relationship with that I knew couldn't do as good of a job as I could, but that was secondary. They had put in the time, they had made all those calls, they had those meetings. So guess what? They got the business, even though I feel that we would have done a better job. But you see what's important, and that's what, again, with Realvolve and these Sphere marketing campaigns, that's why that's, again, in our opinion, that's a base before you try the shiny new objects.
Yeah, and what I love about your approach to the Sphere marketing is it's based on these timeless principles of staying in touch with people, following up with them, but you're using some newer tactics. You're using some internet marketing and mixed in with the direct mail, mixed in with phone calls. So it's a really nice blended, the old school blended with the modern, to maximize how often people are seeing you without making a ton of work for yourself.
Right. And that's the key, because we get busy. And unless you're one of the, we saw Ricky Caruth, who's another instructor in Orlando yesterday. Unless you're a guy like him that has the discipline to go in and crank, and no matter how busy you get, you're going to talk to your 100 people. If you're that guy, then don't worry about all this stuff, But for the other 99.9% of us, we get busy. I have a 6-year-old daughter, dance studio. You want to know that a lot of those things are happening, and that I just have to focus on my knitting, which is when I sit down. And we have the green code, which is, and I'm not going to get too wonky into your system, but we code our money-making prospecting one with green, and our administrative one is yellow. So that when I sit down this the morning, on my to-do list, I screen it for greens only, and I'm calling prospecting. And then in the afternoon, I just change the color to yellow so that there's no mix. I'm not doing administrative stuff during my money time. So again, these are the little nuances as we get deeper into this, maybe that make a difference. So it's just a simple click. And once we have it set up correctly, I'm not mixing the two.
Yeah. And probably what you and I need to do is schedule a follow-up conversation, because I'd love to go deeper into some of these workflows that you developed. We talked a little bit about the Sphere workflow. We talked about an administrative workflow. Any other workflows that you feel like saves you a ton of time, makes you
Yeah,
money?
the transaction ones that you guys have already built.
Yeah.
I mean, with the fields with their names and everything, and like when you kick off a transaction, here is the name of all the people, here's the address, and as long as you just put the data in, you can forget it because everything autofills and goes in, and then it's triggered with the dates. I mean, the transaction ones that you've pre-built, those can just be modified. I mean, 80% is done. You put your signature on it for 20%, and I think I drove your tech guys, Caleb, I think is his name. Every time I'm looking for something and he's like, no, it's here, grab it here. And you guys, it's already, and being a guy that has built stuff like that, boy, I could really appreciate that, where I just pulled it in, stuck it, and, our pending workflow is nice and clean too. And that one we took from you. I can't take credit from that. For most of it, 80%.
Yeah. So you mentioned our team. You relied on our team a lot to kind of point you in the right direction. What other resources did you lean on to get started?
Well, Gary David Hall was a big influence on me when I mentioned before how I'm a shiny object guy. And so when I was evaluating CRMs, and I used to call him it's probably 10 years ago, we were working on this stuff. And then when he came over and I had onboarding with him, and he kind of knew from over the years kind of where my mind was. And so we had a great onboarding and pointed me in the right direction. He developed a bunch of them that I just grabbed as well. So again, so much of this is starting from step 8 instead of step 1, and then of course you tweak it and make it your own. And then 2, you guys have a chat. So much of it in our business as well in real estate, people just want to talk to somebody sometimes. I mean, we talked fundamentals before. I mean, I've tried to show houses where I can't even get a hold of anybody, and I've got somebody that wants to buy. I just want to do a show. So, your chat feature during business hours is wonderful. So, because everyone's got their own little thing that you guys have probably heard 100 times, but you have to pretend like it's the first time you've ever heard it. So, like I said, that's been great. So really the onboarding with Gary David Hall and the chat as an ongoing part to point me in the right direction has been helpful.
Yeah, I love how you relied on us because that's really, I mean, we're here to help. And you kind of took a blended approach. You did a lot yourself, but then you also did, spend a lot of time with our onboarding team, which more and more people are starting to opt in to do these days. They're starting to hire us to do workflow customization. Hey, I know what I want to do, but I don't want to build it myself. Or we can import people's databases from whatever system they already have it in. And so, that blended approach, I think, can go a long way. You get the opportunity to get your hands dirty yourself and learn how to do it, but then you're also getting the shortcut of the wisdom of the staff that we have that does this day in and day out.
Yeah, no, and I think almost sometimes it's to my detriment because I'm so wonky with this, and this doesn't make me money. Like getting in and playing and tweaking and all this stuff. That is why I want to share with people, because I've not wasted, but those are hours I didn't spend building relationships or prospecting to have this here. But with you guys, it's almost like the 80%. I keep saying 80-20, the Pareto principle. That's the core of what we believe is, 80% is there. And of course, it's not going to be perfect, but that 20% you live chat, and your guys can help. And, it's priceless. And, one of the things when I speak on virtual assistants, my eye opener was, I mentioned I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I was missing stuff when she was born, and like I say, in the class, I teach a CE class on it. It's one thing if you're face to face with somebody on $1 million listing or something. Hey, I can't be home. I'm making money. But I was missing my kid's stuff for doing this administrative wonky stuff that I know is already done for me, like by you guys, or I could pay a VA, $5 an hour to do it for me. So that's what really, pushed my business into your guys' arms and assistance and like pre-made workflows, because the price was too high to sit and tinker.
Yeah.
Before it wasn't, when you're young, you're just messing around, figuring things out. But when you start having to make decisions, hey, my kid's over there and my wife, and I can't do this because I'm building some autoresponder or something. When it's already there in Realvolve, then shame on me at some point.
Yeah. So, how many workflows do you have? So, because you have a workflow package that's in our library and in our storefront. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about the package? Just give us an overview.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the Sphere package that we were talking about earlier. So it gives the agent the the option to do it in steps. There's the free one that's just plain old, the emails are scheduled for your sphere, or they're scheduled for your sphere. The calls are scheduled, sweat equity, and it's there. If you do it, fine. If not, shame on you. And then you can also, we have it fully integrated with the workflow, with Express Copy, a 12 postcard preset thing already made for you. You can plug in if you want, it's ready for you. And then you just have to upload your CSV every month because it's already set for the next 12 months. You just click and send and it's going. And then the third part is the AdWorks integration. AdWorks is it's a simple internet ad that goes to your sphere, and they click on it and you can go to your website, or you send them wherever you want, but we have it built to just go to your website, and so that you're in people's face all the time without being in their face. They're reading USA Today and there they are and thinking of you. And again, that's preset. You just have a 10-minute consult, but you already get the NAR discount with them, and we have a discount that we put on. So it's really, we want to minimize that bottleneck for you. So this whole AdWorks is built out and everything is cranked. The postcards are all built out, everything is cranked. The emails are all built out. All you have to do is a little bit where it's a click and send a CSV each time. And we'll tell you when to do that in the workflow. You don't have to remember. You just come in, it's time, you click and you go. So again, 80-20, 80 is there. You just, with this one, it's maybe 95-5, and so that's the one that can drive anybody's business in any market up, down. And we really believe in that, the sphere marketing and that stuff. Like I say, like Brian Buffini, the 33 Touch, all of it is based on when things soften a little bit, the difference between who rides it out and who doesn't is going to be the few items that I just described. That core. People are still doing transactions. People still need help. But that internet stuff dries up, or the cold leads dry up a little bit, but we needed before. I should call it like the economy insulator workflow.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing that and you have your people, you'll never want for business. I don't care what the market is.
I love it. So we'll put links and more details in the chat. If anybody has any additional questions, sorry, we're like about out of time here and don't have a ton of time for questions, but just feel free to put those questions that you have in the chat and we will get to you. And again, Terry, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time, and stay tuned for a follow-up. If you're going to be generous enough, love to do a follow-up where we dive a little bit more into some of the nuts and bolts of what you're doing here. So thank you again. Really appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Bye for now.
All right. Thank you, Dale.